Good morning. Today I'd like to talk to you about love and the practice of loving kindness. Can you believe that the month of February is here again? And with it, the fact that it symbolizes love. Everywhere we look around, red hearts and cupids are displayed to symbolize and celebrate that, in fact, love is in the air. But what about the rest of the year? For myself, looking back over the last 12 months, our lives changed dramatically in 2020. As a spiritual community, we hunkered down together via Zoom, drawing closer by loving and supporting one another in these little boxes on our cell phones, tablets, and computer screens. And as we emerge from our long period of introspection and prepare to resume our lives, we find ourselves standing at a crossroads, a major crossroads. We can choose to stay closed down, insulate ourselves from the fear, anger, hatred, and violence we see around us, and by default, continue down our current path. Or we can open our hearts and choose to share our love, raising the vibration of the planet. Yes, it is a very challenging time to be here, and I'm devoted to seeing our world become a better place by choosing to actively share love that this month of February represents. And I'm encouraging you to do the same. What's intriguing to me is the idea that small, focused groups of individuals can make an impact collectively. By supporting each other in choosing love, we contribute to establishing a critical mass of people who are actively waking up to higher levels of consciousness throughout the globe. Finding the strength within to open our hearts to the enormity of the suffering that surrounds us is the first step towards real change. And from this heart centered place, we can see things clearly and decide where we want to direct our efforts. More and more planets are moving into and remaining in the sign of Aquarius. And all around us, the drumbeat, age of Aquarius, is getting louder and louder, bringing with it an expectation of a shift into group rather than individual consciousness, from me to we. This is where I am choosing to direct my efforts, and I am encouraging you to do the same. So, the age of Aquarius represents this shift by restoring the plan of love and light on earth, which is the last line of the Great Invocation. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the Great Invocation, it was channeled by Theosophist Alice Bailey at the end of World War II, the greatest war in human history, which had a profound effect on the entire planet. So I will recite a slightly modified version of the Great Invocation, a little bit different from the original, in keeping with our current times. Are you ready? From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into our minds. Let this light fill the earth. From the point of light within the heart of God, let love stream forth into our hearts. Let unconditional love fill the earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide our wills, the purpose which the ascended masters know and serve. And from the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light expand our consciousness and diminish our fears. Let light and love restore this plan on earth. And so it is. Yet again, we face global catastrophe on many fronts: an ongoing pandemic, overpopulation, social injustice, racism, poverty, climate change, and the destruction of Earth's ecosystems. When are we going to wake up to the fact that we may very well be running out of time and chances to turn things around? How can we be a part of restoring the plan of love and light on Earth? By making conscious choice to become the change we wish to see in the world. If we want a world filled with love and light, we must first fill ourselves with love and light. Now, this is easy to say, But how do we fill ourselves with love and light? Well, in search of the answer to this question, I've discovered a very simple Buddhist practice called loving kindness, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, which can help us as individuals be an active part of this collective shift. And this morning, I will explain the basics to you so you can get started if that's what you choose to do. So the original name of this practice is Metta Bhavana. Metta means love, friendliness, or kindness, hence the term loving kindness. It is an emotion that we can feel and generate in our hearts and send to other people. And bhavana means development or cultivation. So did you know that hatred cannot coexist with love? And the meditation practice of loving kindness helps us to develop the mental state of unconditional love by training our minds to identify and release negative emotions. And as we practice loving kindness, the need to hold grudges, harbor ill will, or be hostile begins to fade away. And that negativity is replaced with a deep, abiding sense of peace and happiness. When we experience the world from this calm, loving state of mind, it makes it easier to successfully navigate life's challenges. And those who are around people who practice loving kindness feel that sense of peace and happiness as well. Developing loving kindness is much easier when we have steps to follow. And the practice of loving kindness has 5 steps and starts with sending loving kindness to ourselves, to a loved one, to strangers, to the difficult people in our lives, and then to everyone, everywhere. And there's no trick to being more loving and kind. It's something we decide to do and commit to doing on a daily basis. And that's why it's called a practice. So the first step in loving kindness is we start by feeling loving kindness for ourselves. We can do this by becoming aware of ourselves with an attitude of loving acceptance while focusing on feelings of peace, calm, and tranquility, which naturally blossom into loving kindness. Then imagine loving kindness becoming a beautiful soft pink light flooding your body as you say to yourself, "May I be happy and have the sources of happiness. May I be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May I be happy means having respect for our bodies and minds, eating right, exercising, and if we have had a stressful day, giving ourselves time at night to reflect, unwind, and meditate. Now, the causes of suffering include negative emotions such as jealousy, resentment, feelings of abandonment, and judging ourselves harshly. And something to keep in mind, without loving kindness for ourselves, which can be hard to send to ourselves, it's impossible to feel it for others. Sometimes we feel selfish by treating ourselves well. It's the nature of our society. But if you know that you're doing it to be in service of other people, it kind of gives us permission to be kind to ourselves when maybe we've been taught that was something that was selfish. So the second step in loving kindness is to send that loving kindness to a loved one. And this is our emotional set point for all the rest. Because when we bring to mind someone that we love, that's already the feeling there. So we just practice bringing that emotion up in situations that are different from thinking about our loved one. So the way we do it, and you can do it along with me if you like, is to imagine a dear friend, a beloved family member, a pet, or a mentor perhaps. Bring them to mind as vividly as you can and think of their good qualities. Feel your connection, your goodwill towards them, and then send them the soothing, soft pink light of loving kindness from your heart center to theirs. Experience and expand the loving feelings that thinking about them evokes while you say to yourself, may my loved one be happy and have the sources of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Just take a moment to notice how that feels. And keep in mind that that feeling right there is our emotional set point for the rest of the steps in this practice. So now we go on to the third step, extending loving kindness to a casual acquaintance or a stranger perhaps. It could be a neighbor, your local grocer, coworker, or someone you pass on the street. Reflect on their humanity, just like you. They want peace and happiness. And just like you, they wish to be free from suffering. Cultivate and send them the same soft pink light of loving kindness that you sent to your loved one as you say to yourself, may they be happy and have the sources of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. When we pass someone on the street, simply smile and say hello. We don't have to worry about what they do in response. And keep an eye open for opportunities to show loving kindness to strangers. Whenever we get a chance to do a random act of kindness, take it. Why not? Got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So the fourth step is the most difficult one, and it's extending loving kindness to someone you have difficulty with. Difficult people push our buttons, like triggering strong negative emotions, and they're our best teachers. So you may want to start with someone who only annoys you a little bit, but I'm going to walk you through the practice and just observe how you feel. This step can be the most challenging and most important because that difficult person in some way symbolizes the difference between a love that is conditional and a love that is truly unconditional, going beyond having our desires met or a kindness reciprocated. Now you can do this along with me if you like. Imagine someone that you are having conflict with or upsets you. Someone you dislike, who has been unkind to you, or someone you feel a grudge against. Simply observe and acknowledge any negative feelings that may arise. Just observe, maybe with a sense of curiosity. Then reflect on their humanity because, just like you, they want peace and happiness. And just like you, they wish to be free from suffering. It's a hard one, I know. I invite you to gently work to overcome any ill will that you may experience. And see if you can begin to cultivate and send them the same soft pink light of loving kindness that you sent to a stranger and to your loved one, as you say to yourself, may that difficult person be happy and have the sources of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Once again, this can be very difficult, so you may wish to start with someone who only annoys you slightly and take it from there. Again, that's why they call this a practice. And the fifth and final step is extending loving kindness to everyone. And in this final stage, send your soft pink light of loving kindness to everyone around you. our virtual circle, our neighborhood, our town, our country, and so on throughout the world, as you say to yourself, may we all be happy and have the sources of happiness. May we all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Feel the beautiful, soft pink light of loving kindness spreading in waves from your heart center to everyone, to all beings everywhere, creating a web of loving kindness that completely surrounds the planet, raising the vibration. May we all be happy. Simply wish all people happiness equally. No us, no them. We are all one. May we all be free from suffering. Now, cultivate, develop the ability to go beyond our fear of feeling pain by opening our hearts to the suffering that surrounds us. Tragedy in the news, or sitting with a friend who's afraid of dying. Practicing loving kindness does not mean that we approve of or condone any and all actions. It means that we are able to clearly see that things are incorrect or harmful while maintaining the connection created by loving kindness. While we may not like someone's actions, we can still love them unconditionally. We need to use wisdom in our loving kindness practice, both in the development of the practice and in its application to challenging situations that arise in our daily lives. Now, if we simply go through the motions without truly opening our hearts, the practice of loving kindness can be perceived as superficial. But on the flip side, if we open our hearts too much, we end up feeling drained, as if we were used as a doormat. So loving kindness needs to be practiced in a balanced and skillful manner. Also, I'm here to tell you, loving kindness does not develop overnight. It's only after we've been practicing for a while that we begin to notice new habits developing, namely, not being so hard on ourselves or others all the time. It's so refreshing not to be pissed off all the time. I encourage all of us to do our best and apply loving kindness in everyday situations, to have an open heart and a positive, friendly attitude towards everyone we encounter without discrimination. It may sound unrealistic in this less than loving and kind world, but when applied with discernment and understanding, the practice of loving kindness is a very, very powerful tool. So, while the world situation may seem increasingly bleak, there is hope. And this hope lies within us when we take the initiative to be the change we wish to see in the world by practicing loving kindness, and to actively shift our human consciousness from me to we. The age of Aquarius represents this shift in consciousness by restoring the plan of love and light on earth. And simple practices like loving kindness can help us as individuals be an active part of this collective shift, because we are all in this together. So by speaking or hearing the Great Invocation, it becomes reality. So I invite you all to take a few deep breaths and prepare to feel, receive, and become the divine plan of love and light on earth, while I recite those words once again. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into our minds. Let this light fill the earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into our hearts. Let unconditional love fill the planet. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide our wills, the purpose which the ascended masters, like Jesus and Buddha, know and serve. And from the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light expand our consciousness and diminish our fears. Let light and love restore this plan on earth. Let light and love restore this plan on earth. Let light and love restore this plan on earth. And so it is. Thank you.